So here are a few little points that I've put together. Stories, what makes it so important? It helps teach values. It introduces new ideas and concepts. Yeah, it promotes unusual creative ways of thinking. For instance, they had to think differently to make this tidlik put all the water out. It enhances language. Yeah, the more we speak and the more children hear, it's very important for children to hear. That's why they'll pick up their native language so easily, because they are constantly hearing it. So the more we tell stories in any language, they'll pick up that language. And it helps them, it fosters a love for reading. They want to further read. And of course, it builds emotional intelligence, which is very important, because the moment, when I do these scenes of becoming angry, upset, so many children feel the same. And just the fact that I am also showing them that, that feeling of anger and upsetness, they also, uh, they correlate with it. And they feel, yeah, I've also felt that very strongly. So how to handle that, they understand. And of course, it enhances memory, and it's a very fun way of learning. Now, I found that this is an important question to ask, because very often in the new age, the old age, I think there was only storytelling. There was no story reading in our cultures. Uh, and it's a very powerful way to tell a story. But of late, there are story books, and we all want to read a story. So, what is the difference between the two? So, in storytelling, it is a live connection between the two people. Yeah, the person who is telling and the person who is listening. It could be one, it could be 10, 20, it doesn't matter. In story reading, the connection between the child and the world of the book happens. They don't so much connect to the reader as much as the book. Then in storytelling, children are uh, very intently watching you. They're looking at the expressions, uh, how the eyes are and how the hands move and how the mouth is speaking. So they're very observant. Whereas in a book, the children are intently listening and watching the book. And in storytelling, they're listening, observing, and imagining at the same time, whatever you're saying. And it's fully left to their imagination. Whereas in a book, there are pictures depending on who has illustrated and how the illustrations are made. They're listening, observing, but they already have something to look at and imagine. Whereas in a listening format, each child can imagine how a tidlik might be, how big he grew. Somebody may think he grew as big as a cardboard box. Somebody may think he grew as big as a huge rock. And what is huge for children? We don't know. Somebody may think he grew as big as a mountain. So in storytelling, it's very open-ended, left to each person's way of imagining. Then storytelling can bring the story to life, and it can reach a very large audience. Whereas in a book reading, typically, uh, unless it's an online media, if you're with groups of children, fewer children works, because they all want to see the book. They want to see the images and pictures. So they all want to come forward. And I personally believe that telling a story is much more powerful a method than story reading. Although there are a lot of advantages to story reading as well, of course, and in a setting where uh, we are with children all the time. As teachers, we can't always tell stories. We need to read stories as well. And yet, for each person, I think it's very important to be able to just tell a story, forget everything else. Now, when we're doing stories, I think it's very important that we are not shy. Yeah, you have to know your story well. And of course, uh, you can always, uh, what's the word? You can always make up stuff. You don't have to stick to anything. On that particular day, something comes out of you, that's okay. But you need to know the thread of your story well. And you need to feel the story as you tell it. And, voice modulation, how you use your voice, how you make it soft, how you make it loud, how you make it, you use different styles of voice a little bit. Uh, that makes a person get interested. So children immediately perk up the moment you do something unusual. And one of them is to do it with voice, the other is facial expressions. Yeah. And yet another is the whole body language. You use the whole body to express. And in this way, we engage with children. And of course, we can also engage within the story, Uh, right now, we can't engage because we are on this uh, social media, or, this, what should I call it? This media, the computer. Whereas when we are in person with a child or children, we have little things that we exchanged. They'll ask a little question, or we can ask them a question, so we can engage with them. Ah, I think before I go any further, it's very important to say uh, that when we do a story, do not say the moral of the story. It's a very modern way that every story, uh, of course, stories are nothing but full of morals, full of values. Actually, you can hardly call it a moral; it's a value. Yeah, be kind. Pidlik is nothing but what does it mean to be bullied? How does that person feel when bullied? And what does it mean to be kind to somebody? What does it mean for all of us to live together? There are so many little values are sitting in that story. And no matter how big or how small we are all equal. Yeah. The eel is small, Tidlik is small. So there are so many little things, and the story packs all these little magical secrets, and they need to stay as secrets. When I mean a secret, the story would have gone into a person, and without our knowledge, it goes into our subconscious. But when we tell the moral at the end, always be kind, then that sentence, instead of going into our subconscious, it'll go into a conscious mind. So typically, see, we are all told don't lie, but everybody lies. So like that, morals, when they go into the mind, it will not help. So that is why it's very important to just tell the story, and you have to trust and have faith that the value has gone into the child. It will go, and the child, it will come out when it is ready to come out. Yeah, just because I put a seed, and I water it every day, in 2 days, it's not going to sprout. It takes its time. So any thoughts you have, questions you have, or anything you want to share, please note it down, and we'll have a question answer session in the end. This is for everybody. So once we have these few little things, we make the magic happen, right? You you just have to put these few things, and each person has their own method of doing it. The way they speak, the way they tell. I love listening to stories. In fact, my grandmother was a storyteller, so I would really enjoy. So even today, I love listening to stories from others. So some of the important aspects in storytelling are me first and the story. So my eye contact, yeah, observe if the children are losing interest when they're in groups. It happens that one of them is not so interested, and if they are looking away, trying to talk, trying to distract, then call their name immediately. Just say, Shruti, you know what happened next to Tidlik? And immediately that Shruti and a few others who are around Shruti will turn towards you. Yeah, instead of saying Shruti, listen to me, we just say we just used Shruti's name and turn it into continue the story. Then, of course, there are little phrases. There are some stories where there are phrases that you can repeat, and children love repetition. So, so if you can, in certain stories, that will be there. And once they know the repetition, they'll all say it themselves. You must all have heard that. And we need to stay alive and connected to children the whole time. We as adults have a tendency sometimes that we are a little tired. Then we go into a mechanical mode. That is something we shouldn't do. When you're with a child, if you can manage, no, and stay in connect with the child, it's okay. Sometimes you're tired, you can even say, look, I'm feeling tired to children. But when you're doing a story, when you're doing a little session with them, post the story, you need to stay connected because then immediately they are connected to you and it flows like magic. Yeah, being silly and funny and showing emotions of the story, that's very important for children, and it's a great way of learning emotional intelligence. I think all some of these things we've already covered, asking them questions, let them make a comment, oh, in my house or in my uru there was such a big pond or such a big lake. They'll say comments like that, and we can ask them what happened next. What do you think Tidlik did next? Did he open his mouth for this eel? Did he open his mouth for the hyenas? So you can ask. Be aware and clear which part of the story you want them to engage in. This is something very important to know. If we start little chit chat within a story, many people will start saying whatever they feel like whenever. And then we as storytellers get derailed. You don't know how to get all their energies back into the story. So we should be aware where we ask these questions and whether it's a how much we engage, how much we don't engage, which portions we engage. That clarity should be there in the storyteller. And openly we talk to them after the story about their thoughts and feelings. Yeah, and we connect stories to real life experiences and allow them to imagine. And in imagination we have to remember, as teachers and educators sometimes, especially being an art teacher as well, I've often seen that a lot of children already come with a right way of making everything. The house should look only like this. A tree should look like that. A tree is green. The bark is brown. In real life, also, it's not true, actually. There are so many greens. There are so many browns. There are brown turning to almost white. And in the imagination world, I think we should allow them to have purple sky or purple tree or orange house or whatever it is that they make. Yeah, these are little, the aids that we use help a lot. Having little puppets, props, a picture, a piece of stick, a piece of cloth, some song, a rhyme, all these things they thoroughly enjoy.